everybody, it's your friendly neighborhood man woman here, and we're going to discuss Star Wars stuff. Yay? Alright, so this is an article out of LA Times that I found this morning. As you can see, they're discussing Kathleen Kennedy's plan for Star Wars, and they mention other things in the article, so let's just jump into it. First thing I got highlighted here is, by all accounts, the gamble on The Mandalorian has paid off for Lucasfilm since it debuted to an enthusiastic response on streaming service Disney Plus in November. Viewers have obsessed online about the show's introduction of so-called Baby Yoda, an infant from the same species as the Green Jedi Master. They keep calling it the baby. The people who make The Mandalorian and the show, and they call it the baby. It's everybody online that has named it Baby Yoda, and yes, it's absolutely fucking adorable. Do I think they did it for marketing purposes? Yes. But let's move on. The series launch comes on the eve of Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, the ninth and final film, with so many leaks that if it was a ship, it would have sunk already. In the space opera series dubbed the Skywalker Saga, which I have got no clue why there is a Skywalker Saga. I thought that wrapped up with Return of the Jedi. But what do I know? This is directed by J.J. Abrams. The film is expected to debut with a huge box office in its opening weekend, about $200 million in the U.S. and Canada. Additionally, video game publisher Electronic Arts has touted strong sales for the critically acclaimed Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, released in November. Now, the game is a separate entity from what I understand, and yes, it has been, seen rave reviews. I have seen it played online. I have watched people streaming it. The game looks really good. The gameplay looks really smooth, and it looked like a lot of them were having a blast playing it. I can't wait to get my grubby little hands on it. And that's my dog, just in case you heard her. $200 million in the U.S. and Canada. Really? The leaks that everybody has been reporting on different channels like Geeks and Gamers, Doomcock, and others, it's another story that's all over the place, that's not solidly written and doesn't seem to have a really good vision to it. It just seems like they were paying attention to a lot of Reddit threads and a lot of what people were wishing would happen, and they're like, okay, let's reshoot to make it do that. Okay, let's reshoot for this. Let's reshoot for that. Okay, then we're going to put this in here because that's our own original idea. And it's just going to be a mess, in my opinion. After The Rise of Skywalker, Kennedy 66 faces what might be her most daunting challenge since George Lucas handpicked her to shepherd his creation over 7 years ago. You fucked up, George. Just saying. Figuring out what's next for what is probably pop culture's most closely critiqued franchise. It's closely critiqued when you stray from canon like Kathleen Kennedy and her ilk has done. With multitudes of novels written and multitudes of comic books done that are canon in the expanded Star Wars universe, you can't say you didn't have anything to go on because you're full of crap. Obviously, that's what we've been spending so much time talking about, and it's really important for transition for Star Wars, Kennedy said in an interview. What we focused on these last 5 or 6 years is finishing that family saga around the Skywalkers. It was finished with Return of the Jedi. Everything came full circle. Darth Vader was redeemed. Everybody, it wrapped up nicely with a bow, in my opinion. But apparently you guys just wanted to shit all over the Skywalker, family. And if that's what you were aiming for, good job. That's exactly what you did. You shit all over the Skywalker legacy. Now is the time to start thinking about how to segue into something new and different. Kennedy's tenure hasn't been without setbacks. While the first 4 Star Wars films in the Disney era combined for nearly $5 billion at the global box office, check the numbers, they're true, but they had to combine them. Solo's 2018 was a commercial disappointment following a fraught production in which the studio replaced the directors during shooting. Iger openly blamed a lackluster performance on releasing too many Star Wars movies too quickly. It's not that too many were released too quickly. It's that the ones that had come out before Solo, from my understanding, with the exception of Rogue One, were so abysmal because I watched The Last Jedi and I watched The Force Awakens, or as I like to call it, The Bile Rises and The Last Mary Sue, and I was completely disappointed in both. The story was all over the place. There was really no definitive plot. There was no clear motivation for the main hero. The hero story was contrived because she already knew how to do every fucking thing. I mean, there was no setup. It was just, here she is. Now she's going to kick ass. Now she's kicking ass. Now she needs to learn how to do this. Now she does this. And she knows how to do this because she knows how to do this because reasons, y'all. And that was it. And I think after, The Bile Rises and The Last Mary Sue, people just really weren't interested in how they were going to fuck up Solo. It wasn't burnout. It was just people were just not going with it. Nobody in our business develops something with one person. That's it. And everybody goes perfectly, she said. It's a fairly common part of the process. We all fall under incredible scrutiny because it's Star Wars. Yes, because it's Star Wars. And there's an existing fan base that you guys keep calling all the ists and putting down and insulting and calling them trolls when all of our criticisms are valid of what you're doing with something that we have been in love with since 77. I was 4 when the first movie came out. Okay? 4, Kathleen. And you're older than me. And you don't know this? You don't know that there's an existing fan base, or you don't give a shit about what they think. I think it's because you don't give a shit. You're too busy pushing your ideology to realize that sometimes an ideology does not go hand in hand with the canon that is already established. And when you step outside canon's bounds, you receive the ire of all of those fans. You need to understand that. We're not trolls. We're not misogynists. We're not racists. We're not sexists. Okay? We're not. This is our fandom you're treading all over. This is our canon. These are our stories that we grew up with that you're fucking up. They've had 3 and soon to be 4 very successful movies. You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. And one not so successful movie, said Doug Kreutz, an entertainment and media analyst in Cohen & Co. The Mandalorian has been very successful, led program for Disney, and they've integrated Star Wars into the theme parks, which hasn't been doing very good. Making them into theme parks hasn't been doing very good, especially when you have restrictions that, you can't cosplay on the rides for Star Wars. You can't enter the Star Wars part of the parks dressed as any of your favorite characters from any of the movies. You can't even go into the merchandise stores that are in those part of the parks, buy, let's say a Jedi robe and wear it onto the ride because they won't let you do that either. That said, it hasn't been as smooth a ride as it has been for Marvel because, and then I'm going to posit a theory of mine. Because the people that have been doing the Marvel movies, and yes, I have a problem with a couple of the Marvel movies. If you read my blog, you would have seen my review of the first, Infinity Gauntlet movie, but I digress. The main difference as to why the Marvel movies have been openly received and widely received, with the exception of Captain Marvel, is the fact that the majority of those movies were directed, written, and produced by people that wanted to pay attention to the canon, that wanted to honor the canon, that wanted to respect the characters within that canon. And let's face it, Joss Whedon is a big Marvel fan, and I think that played a big part into it. Now, am I happy that Joss Whedon came out to be a major ass or dick toward women, and his wife especially? No. But that doesn't diminish the fact that he made some pretty fucking good movies under the Marvel banner. Okay? We're literally making this up from whole cloth and bringing it in filmmakers to find what these stories might be. It can take a while before you find what direction you might want to go, Well, we need the time to do that. Read the novels. Read the comic books. Buy the books that explain to you what the lore is. It's out there, Kathleen. You can't say it doesn't exist. It's been existing since the first movie. You are a dumbass, madam. And I say that with every lack of respect. I think this gives us more open-minded view of storytelling. It doesn't lock us into this 3-act structure. Okay, you're talking about a 3-act structure, but you did Solo and you did Rogue One, and neither one of those tied in with 7 or 8, 4 through 6 for that matter, or 1 through 3. So you contradicted yourself right here. Do you have to do it in trilogy format? No. Do you have to tell a 3-part story? No. You didn't with Solo, you didn't with Rogue One, you're not doing it with The Mandalorian. Because from what I understand, each episode of The Mandalorian is standalone. Okay? If you feel confined within the canon, here's an idea. Write your own fucking universe. Make TV shows and movies within that universe. And leave the Star Wars franchise alone. I would rather it end here and gather dust than have you continue to ruin it. Because every movie that has come out, 7, 8, Solo, have been abysmal. I'm not going to watch 9. I'm going to wait till it either comes on Disney Plus, Netflix, or whatever streaming service it hits first. Because I refuse. I refuse. I have read the leaks. I refuse. I completely refuse. Debates over the franchise persisted. The Last Jedi, for example, was criticized in some circles for going too far and subverting Star Wars tropes. No. They're not tropes. It's an existing canon within an existing universe. They're not tropes. What you did was you made the greatest Mary Sue of all time, or should I say Mary Sue of all time. There's nothing she can't do. There's no force power she can't have. There's no ship she can't pilot, possibly. There's no mind she can't bend to her will. And even though she wields that fucking lightsaber like a baseball bat in the hand of a 3-year-old, apparently there's nobody she can't beat in lightsaber in combat either. And whether people that are, Rey stans, she's a Mary Sue. Okay? There's nothing she can't do. That is not a solidly written character. That is an abysmal portrayal of a fan fiction character in order to fit it or shoehorn it into an existing canon and universe. Kennedy says the company heeds back from Star Wars feedback from Star Wars fans. Which ones? Because you've been calling us every name in the book since the bile rises. Or the bile awakens. So which ones? Because it's not us. For example, Lucasfilm decided to revive the Clone Wars TV series for Disney Plus following a pro-line campaign by viewers. Okay, yeah, that was a good TV series. That's a good move. While Lucasfilm was shooting The Rise of Skywalker, Michelle Rejwan went to a London bookshop and picked up the fantasy novel Children of Blood and Bone by Tommy Adeyemi. She recommended it to Kennedy, who was enchanted by the story and thought the themes echoed those of Star Wars. She found out the rights to the book were owned by Fox, which Disney was in the process of absorbing. She called Fox film executive Emma Watson, asked if Lucasfilm could co-develop a film based on the property. So you're going to fuck up another canon? Because your track record's not great at this point. So you're not happy with Star Wars. You're going to screw up another canon? Ugh. Well, what makes a new Lucasfilm franchise if it has nothing to do with Star Wars? Okay, I get it. Since the 1970s, 77 to be exact, Lucasfilm and Star Wars have been synonymous. But Lucasfilm also, with his Industrial Light and Magic, did all the effects for Jurassic Park. So he's not stuck in the Star Wars box. Lucasfilm and Industrial Light and Magic are not stuck in the Star Wars box. You're the one thinking it is. If you want to do another franchise, do another franchise. But my advice to you, Miss Kennedy, is to respect the franchise you're walking into if it has an established fan base and it has an established canon. You didn't do that with Star Wars. Thus, another question Kennedy will have to grapple with as she considers the company's future. She compares the process to when she sat down with Spielberg and Marshall to determine the creative identity of Amblin. So here we have Miss Kathleen Kennedy. She still hasn't figured it out yet. She refuses to realize and acknowledge the fact that what she has done was completely shit on a fandom and the canon and the franchise that most of us that saw it in 77 or maybe a little later fell in love with. I've said this to ample friends. I think I've written this on my blog a few times, and I think I've even said it in a couple of videos. You can't continue to shit on established canon, and you can't continue to insult the existing fan base that goes with that canon and franchise without having backlash, without losing money, and without being ridiculed. Are we trolls? No. Are we misogynists? No. Are we sexists? No. Are we racists? No. Because let me tell you something, Kathleen Kennedy, you may never see this video, but you would have had a far, far better trilogy with Finn than you ever would have with Rey. And that does it for another video. Don't forget to hit that either like button or dislike button. It's all interactions with the channel. Continue the conversation in the comment section below if you will. And that description box contains a link to the source as well as all of my social medias and everywhere else you can find me, like my blog and my new Redbubble store that has lots of designs in there that are coffee themed because I love coffee, just in case you haven't realized that yet. Until next time, guys, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and behave. But if you can't behave, at least be good at it.